Hello everyone, thank you for joining us at this news on Equinoxe television, broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital Douala. I am Babli Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, victims of the decollete forceful eviction exercise hit the streets of Cameroon's economic capital Douala, pressing for solutions to their plight. Many of them are still stranded after their homes were destroyed, and they are expressing concerns about the uncertain fate of their children who will be returning to school in a matter of weeks. Several Cameroonians stormed the internet condemning rising violence against men. The reactions began overflowing social media and networks after a video in which a Cameroonian musician tenor is seen being violently attacked by his love partner. And in news out of the Republic of Cameroon, Somalia's new president Hassan Sheikh Mohamud vows an all-out war against militant group Al-Shabaab. Gendarme officers from the Mungo North Gendarmerie Command Company arrest 13 suspected bandits. They are said to have attacked the Douala naval base, and during that attack, some military officers who were on duty were wounded and guns taken away. Sinazi reports.
13 suspected armed bandits arrested during an operation conducted by elements of the Mungo North Gendarmerie Company presented to the public on Tuesday in the presence of Njana Yves Bertrand Noel, SDO for the Mungo Division Littoral Region, before being sent to the military tribunal in Douala to answer to their crimes.
D'un gang de bandits de grand chemin qui ont attaqué plusieurs casernes.
Their arrest came following a series of complaints filed by the population who said were often aggressed at gunpoint, allegedly by members of the dismantled criminal gang. Investigation opened led to the arrest of some of the suspects in Suza and others in Douala, Wuri Division, as well as in Banjul, West Region. Thanks to the collaboration of the various gendarmerie units, it began with the arrest of the suspected gang leader, Mfone Francis Ngwa, 34 years of age, in the Bradesenge neighborhood in the town of Douala on August 8. His interrogation enabled gendarmes to get hold of his accomplices in the aforementioned towns. Some of the suspects were identified as wanted criminals who attacked the naval base in Douala, injuring military men on duty.
Les braqueurs les ont attaqués, ils ont poignardé les militaires 8 coups de poignard et ils ont pris leurs armes.
Others are suspected to be separatist fighters who burgled and set ablaze the military camp in Wum, Northwest Region in 2016.
Là-dedans, on retrouve des sécessionnistes.
The Mungo North Gendarmerie boss also noted others are unrepentant prisoners. The suspects, aged between 22 and 42, were in possession of arms and munitions, 2 knives, 2 cutlasses, 3 passports, 12 mobile telephones, 6 birth certificates, to name but these.
Ils sont dirigés en Kappa, où ils ont ciblé une famille.
With these arms, they attacked several families in Kappa and other towns in and out of the Mungo Division.
And we continue talking about insecurity now in the town of Ngaoundéré, Adamawa region of the Republic of Cameroon, where some inmates of the prison in that part of the country have escaped, and investigations are going on. The people are now living in fear and uncertainty, the fear of the unknown, not knowing exactly what the inmates will be doing out of their cells. Details in this report compiled by Mula Glory.
Investigations have been opened following the eviction of 4 prisoners from the Ngaoundéré Central Prison in the Adamawa region of Cameroon. Mohamed, Gabriel, Bruno and Abdul accused of robbery, kidnappings and other crimes. Sources say they escaped at about 3 a.m. through the prison gate. Their absence was noticed during a roll call early in the morning, which immediately led to their search. The news of the escaped went viral, thus creating fear and panic in the inhabitants of the town of Ngaoundéré and its environs. This is because the suspects are known for numerous atrocities. The Ngaoundéré Central Prison, created in 1920, hosts about 400 prisoners. It is therefore necessary to enforce security measures in order to avoid worst situations.
Reactions, messages condemning rising violence against men continue overflowing social media and networks, and this started after a video in which a Cameroonian musician tenor is seen being violently attacked by his Ivorian love partner, and there have been condemnations rising to the sky since that video went viral on social media and networks. Details with Immaculate Faway.
While civil society activists and governments are fighting hard to eliminate violence meted on women, a new trend seems to be thriving in Cameroon, and that is violence against men. Men have a crucial role to play as fathers, brothers and husbands, and so their rights should equally be respected. Recently, the video of a Cameroonian artist tenor surfaced online showing the artist being molested by his Ivorian fiancée Eunice Zunong. In the video, Eunice is seen holding tenor on the neck, and later she uses a bottle to hit him on the head. The act has been described by many as a wrestling bout, spurring lots of reactions on social media. Minu Crystal on her Facebook handle says tenor is a victim of violence. Just like women suffer domestic violence, men equally face the same torture, but most of them are ashamed to denounce such. She would have killed him with that bottle. He is free to file a complaint. Rachel Conte official on her part says the society has made it a taboo for men to talk about violence meted on them, reason why some die in silence. Some men go through a lot of mental torture. Bella Pa on her part says no to violence against men. She stands for the opposite gender in this case. The International Men Day is commemorated annually on the 19th of November. According to statistics, 1 in 7 men are victims of severe physical violence across the world. Let's stop violence for a better generation.
And we're going to talk about violence against men in the second part of this newscast. Victims of the decollete forceful eviction exercise on the streets of Cameroon's economic capital Douala, pressing for solutions to their plight. They are asking the administration to do something quick, as their children will be returning to school in a matter of weeks, and they are expressing concerns over the uncertain fate of their children, considering the fact that their houses were demolished. Details in this report by Lucy Liengo.
2 weeks to the start of the academic year, victims of the decollete destruction that occurred on May 14, 2022, have taken the streets of Bonamusadi, Daido, Bali in the city of Douala. About 4,000 to 5,000 inhabitants of this area don't have roofs to cover their head. Families who lost their homes say they are still without any help from the government at the time when students are to resume school.
La rentrée est dans 2 semaines.
School resumes in 2 weeks' time. I don't have where to stay. I don't know if I will go to school. At the time when my house was being destroyed, I was in an examination class. I lost all my books. We call on the government to help us recover our land.
De nous aider à retrouver nos terres.
Members of the civil society have met to discuss ways in which the problem of the affected families can be resolved.
This decollete business was put in the naked to everybody to see. The first ministry that we were supposed to have seen is the Ministry of Social Affairs, because they are concerned, and the Ministry of Women. Those 2 ministries were supposed to be present. We have not seen them. That is why we said, why don't we continue with these children to show the cry that they are having, so that the population can be able to help. If the ministry is not helping, one hand washes the other.
As they attempt to find solutions to the decollete crisis, members of the civil society also encourage the population to voluntarily assist the victim.
The children of decollete are already going to school, so they have their specific schools that they go. Right now, we just need the help so that they don't feel the pain that they went through. We need the help of everybody, because if we let them go as we are letting them go, we made a lot of noise and everything. We don't know where this is carrying us to.
The rights of the victims remains a worry to many as they continue to call on the government to see into their plight.
And teachers have also been protesting over poor treatment, and they have been piling pressure on the administration to provide adequate solutions to the plight. Speaking during a meeting here in Douala today in preparation for the kickoff of the 2022-2023 academic year, the Littoral Regional Delegate for Basic Education, Leopold Yimga, said this problem is already being solved. Anabila reports.
Less than 2 weeks to school resumption for the academic year 2022-2023, stakeholders of the education sector in the Littoral region meet to ensure that the new school year goes on hitch-free in the region. During a sectorial meeting of basic education officials, it was revealed that back to school will be without any issue, since the dust has settled with regards to the protest of teachers over unpaid salaries coupled with other demands.
Je pense qu'on m'a parlé de 700 enseignants qui sont déjà pris en sol.
700 teachers have already been taken care of. Arrears have been paid plus other benefits. The Minister for Basic Education is respecting the President to ensure that teachers are well treated for the sake of our children's education.
Pour la gloire de l'éducation de nos enfants.
The delegate of basic education for the Littoral adds that all is set for a smooth new school year.
New school will be effective, and all the activity carry on will be going on from the 5th to the end of the year, and we'll do our best to train all the collaborators so that everything will go on very well and the school resumption is ready.
While presiding over the consultation of basic education officials, the Secretary General at the Governor's office confirmed that positive measures have been taken by the government and the ball is now in the courts of those on the field.
Those stakeholders are proud of measures taken by the head of state concerning many issues that you know, and they ask us to say to transmit, and I'm waiting for them to accomplish their mission for this school year 2022-2023.
Considering that the teachers' worries have been looked into and strike actions kept aside, pupils can now expect to have a peaceful academic year this year than last year, which was marked by numerous protests.
The priorities and objectives of the government of the Republic of Cameroon for the year 2023 have been defined and outlined, and the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, is laying emphasis on the reconstruction of the Northwest, Southwest and Far North regions, 3 regions affected by socio-political and security crises and identified as economically stricken zones. For me, Armstrong Sander, files in details.
On the public policy objective, the circular said the 2023 state budget will consolidate economic recovery and accelerate structural transformation while strengthening inclusive growth in order to steer the country back to the path of emergence. In terms of security, priority will be to maintain security monitoring and to intensify the disarmament, demobilization and reintegration process. On the economic front, the government will undertake to pursue the reconstruction of the Northwest, Southwest and the Far North regions. Interestingly, the government will accelerate the implementation of the import substitution policy, particularly through the implementation
of a support plan for the production and processing of main import products, notably rice, corn, wheat, soya beans, millet, sorghum, fish, milk and pharmaceutical products. On the social front, the aim will be to reinforce the inclusiveness of economic growth, particularly by giving greater consideration to labor-intensive approach and local content in investment project designs. The government intends to continue to implement universal health coverage with focus on disease management, particularly among pregnant women and under 5 children. The General Budget Policy Guidelines indicates that the budget policy objective of the 2023 finance year is to continue fiscal consideration with a view to providing the state with a healthy medium-term expenditure program backed by NDS 30. To this end, emphasis will be on increasing mobilization of non-oil revenue as well as controlling and improving public spending efficiency.
Cameroon's senior men's volleyball and basketball teams have intensified preparation for the upcoming volleyball World Championship and qualifiers for the basketball World Championship. And Smart Jik and Gabriel now fires in updates on this.
After the successful outings of the under-21 men's volleyball team alongside Team Cameroon at the Islamic Solidarity Games, officials of the Cameroon Volleyball Federation are now looking forward to see that the senior men's volleyball team put up a good performance in the upcoming Volleyball World Cup later this year. In order to have a good show, the senior men's volleyball team has been into intense training in Slovenia. In the course of the training camp, they have already played 3 warm-up matches. Against the Maribor volleyball team, a first division outfit, the senior men's volleyball team lost 3 sets to 2, 23-25, 25-18, 25-20, 22-25, and 15-10. In another warm-up match, Cameroon played a tie of 2 sets to 2 against Egypt. This draw was coming after the team defeated Qatar in one of their warm-ups by 3 sets to 0. Cameroon's men volleyball team is lodged in Group D at the World's Volleyball Championship alongside Slovenia, France and Germany. The competition starts this August 26, 2022. In basketball, the national men's team is currently in camp in Tunisia to prepare for the second phase matches counting for the qualifiers of the 2023 Basketball World Championship. The boys of coach team that is in camp is made up of 10 professional players drawn from Italy, Greece. 2 home-based players are in camp. The men's basketball team and will run through August 28, 2022.
Stops, pops, can't get it to drop. But
Talking Point is up next. Human rights defender, civil society leader, global president of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, Sylvie Jacqueline Dobmu is our guest today. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Right, let's talk about violence against men. A video that went viral on social media and networks showing a Cameroonian musician tenor being violently attacked by his love partner has attracted condemnation from across the board. What do you think about violence against men?
It's not common, but it does exist. We have had cases of violence against men, and we have even spoken about that, because when we are talking about justice, it's not only about talking about women. It's being able to look at what is not wrong, what is not right, in the society and address it. We have many cases where it's the other way around. We know that women are vulnerable, and we have the highest number of women who are victims of gender-based violence. But there are many cases as well
where men are also victims of this. And the same way as we have to denounce the case of gender-based violence, violence against women, we have to say no to violence against men, because violence is violence. These are very specific cases, but I know that we have had some cases in the past, but men are kind of afraid. They don't want to speak out because they feel that their manhood is put at risk. So these are cases that we should also address. But of course, we know that globally, generally, those who are suffering most of violence are women. But it's very important, as we are addressing, to also take into account of the fact that not only women are, also men are. And I remember when we did the gender conflict analysis, we had cases, especially with the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest, cases where men are also highest victims of gender-based violence. We had the whole study done by a woman from OCHA who said that we are talking about gender-based violence, violence against women, but we are forgetting that men also do suffer. When we look at the case, even from the Northwest and Southwest crisis, many men, including the Boko Haram, many men do suffer because of their situation. They are in life now because of the crisis. Most of them are kind of despised by their wives and so on. They suffer psychological and mental violence, which is not most of the time spoken about, but it's very important to also mention if you are talking about justice in general.
Now, the case I mentioned earlier has to do with physical violence. What about psychological and mental violence against men?
To say that generally the gender-based violence in general has impact at different levels. I want to talk about health level. I want to talk about health is physical and mental health. Physical, you can see the injury and so on, but mental is the worst case scenario, because you might not see it from your eyes, but the person is suffering very, very much. That's why you see cases of people who commit suicide because they are feeling insecure. They are feeling they have issues that they are afraid because of the society to talk about. So I want to say that this mental health, this mental violence, this psychological violence is the worst, because it affects majority of people, but because of the society, the environment we live in, people don't want to speak out. And that's why the consequences are more dangerous than the consequences of physical violence. And if I have to talk about, give an advice, I would say that in addressing the violence cases in general, we should take into account that psychological violence, mental health is one of the biggest consequences of violence in general and should be addressed. That's why, for example, at the level of youth Cameroon, we do have a legal clinic, as you know very well, legal and judicial clinic. And within the legal clinic, there is now a psychosocial unit, because we discovered throughout our studies that the level of stress, the level of trauma is very important, and it comes from, most of the time, from the violence people are victims of in the communities.
Now, let's talk about women who are more vulnerable, as you mentioned earlier. What is the rate of gender-based violence against women and girls today, globally, in Africa, and more specifically in Cameroon?
In 2019, the World Bank did a study that indicated that 1 over 3 women globally are victims of violence. And that is why they say that it's a pandemic. They call it a pandemic because of the average having up to 1 over 3 women globally suffering from gender-based violence. And in Cameroon, even if we don't have concrete statistics, we do have some. Just looking at what is happening only this week, you can see that the level of gender-based violence is really increasing for the past year. Let me just say for the past year, especially when the country started having security challenges, the Northwest and Southwest crisis, we can see on daily basis the level of rape, of gender-based violence increasing. So the statistics seems to be alarming. This also came when we did our gender conflict analysis, and we can say that whether in Cameroon, in African level or globally, it's alarming. And I can also testify by the fact that during the 20th anniversary in New York of the Security Council Resolution 1325, it's because the studies from all over were very alarming that there was this recommendation to look for innovative ways to address this issue of gender-based violence. And that is the reason why Kofi Annan Institute decided to conduct a study to see the degree of this problem in Africa. And they have come out with a guide. The guide saying that it's very important to train the communities, to train the local actors on the issue of gender-based violence and try to look for innovative solutions to that. You remember very well that a few months, like almost a year now, Cameroon received Kofi Annan Institute here for a training that has happened in other countries. So the idea is how best can people work at national level to address this issue of gender-based violence. I know one of the things that came out is to really build a stronger collaboration in communities to address. It's not about one stakeholder, it's about how do we work together to address it, because it's very important not to look at it as a single stakeholders issue.
The United Nations Resolution 1325 is urging member countries to take special measures to protect women and girls from gender-based violence, and particularly rape and other forms of sexual abuse. Tell us more about this Resolution 1325 of the United Nations.
In the year 2000, the United Nations countries met and decided to have this new resolution 1325, which is part of what we call the Women, Peace and Security Agenda, which has today 10 resolutions. But the main one is Resolution 1325 on Women, Peace and Security. And the resolution emanated from the fact that worldwide, the studies shown that women at different levels are the most impacted by the conflict generally worldwide. It has been proven that. And also looking at peace processes, there were few women involved in peace processes while they are the majority of victims. So the resolution called for the different states to kind of change the role and ensure that women are not only portrayed as victims, they now become peace agents. So the resolution calls for countries to have national action plan to make sure that women are involved in peace processes before, during and after conflict. So it's about making sure that women are part and parcel of peace processes, of conflict resolution processes at different levels. So the reason why, after adopting the resolution, the commitment that the UN Secretary General asked was that countries should have national action plan in order to really have a framework and make sure that it is very clear how the women in the country, how are they involved in these processes. I'm happy that Cameroon is now, after implementing the first national action plan, is now embarking in the second generation national action plan, making sure that at least when implemented, Cameroonian women should be part of peace processes.
Is the implementation of United Nations Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security progressing at the expected speed?
Yes, I want to say that we just came from Balmayo, that was 2 weeks ago, where we had the Minister and UN Women organize a workshop to validate the second generation national action plan. And the second generation action plan is building ground on the first one, which expired in December 2022, sorry. No, not 2022. In December 2020, it expired on that at that period, and the government embarked in a drafting of a second one. And before doing that, there was an assessment that was done to see what were the results of the first implementation phase, what were the outcomes, the lesson learned, the successes, and also what didn't work. It was done by the government through the Ministry of Women Empowerment and Family. Also, WILF Cameroon with the other civil society organizations did the same exercise at the level of the civil society organization, trying to assess the level of implementation of the first national action plan. And of course, there were some results, but also there were some many shortcomings, including the fact that there was poor coordination. So many people could not really be involved in the process. There was lack of budget to make activity happen. There was a poor popularization of the resolution and the national action plan. So that's why the second generation national action plan is trying to redress this. One of the things that is made now is to have a strong coordinating mechanism and also budgeting from day one. So we do hope that if the national action plan, the way it is designed now, if it is really implemented the way it is, we have hope that it's going to go a long way to support the peace process in Cameroon. But I say if because there is a need for really a stronger collaboration between the different stakeholders for this to happen.
Now, the issues this resolution is meant or was established to fight are still increasing at an alarming rate, as you indicated earlier. Now, on the continental level, and globally, is the implementation of this resolution 1325 yielding concrete fruits in terms of solving the problems?
Yes, but I don't want to be in total despair. No, I don't want. It's true that when Cameroon adopted its national action plan in 2017, we were the 15th country in Africa. So meaning that there are many more to have a national action plan. But I want to say that it's improving because we too did not have one. And because of our contact at different levels, African Union level, global level, we got to know the importance of this resolution, and then we pleaded for our country to have one. We are doing the same exercise each time we meet with other countries. So I want to say that I want to be very positive because more and more women are getting involved in peace processes. More and more government are indicating and making it clear that women have a role to play. So the issue now is about proper implementation, because one thing is to have a national action plan, the second thing is to really implement it. So my worry is the challenge I can see here is really proper implementation and making sure that there is stronger collaboration. Because, for example, in Cameroon, as I indicated, we did have one before, but it didn't really achieve the result that we wanted because of this lack of coordination. So the same way as the resolution is really building ground and making women to be more and more involved in peace processes, I wish to say that there is need to look at it as a cooperative something, as a co-construction. It's not about government, it's not about civil society, it's about everyone putting hand in to make it a success.
Now, the resolution reaffirms the role of women in prevention, resolution of conflicts, peace negotiations, peace building, peacekeeping, humanitarian response, and post-conflict resolution. Is the role of women adequately considered in these peace processes?
Yes, I want to say that when we talk about this resolution, we look at the pillars, 4 pillars: participation, prevention, protection, relief and recovery. These are the main pillars of the resolution. When you look at participation, more and more women are sitting on decision-making tables. We will look at Cameroon, for example. We look at the Senate. We look at the Parliament. There are more. The level of women, or the percentage of women has increased compared to what used to happen in the past. So for that, at least you can say that there is a kind of increase, but still we want to have more. And it happens in many countries in Africa, like in Rwanda and in a few other countries where we have many women at decision-making position. If we talk about participation, so the participation pillar is about making sure that women are at decision-making table. Women really play key roles. And of course, globally, looking at the AU indicators and also the UN indicators, the level on Cameroon is still, when we talk about 30% or 33%, is still under the 50-50 African Union dream. But still, we can say that more and more women are gaining some position, which is good. But we feel that there is still a lot to do in that. And secondly, I want to say that for me personally, it's not just about having women. Where do we have women? You can even have 50 women, 50-50, but which position do women occupy? My issue is that women should really occupy position of influence. If we have women in social affairs, we have women, everything which is social, women's affairs, it's okay, but we should have women at position that they can really have influence, defense, finance, and so on. So it's about having women at position, but having women at position of influence, which is critical. So I don't want to be very negative. I want to say that there is increase, but there is a lot to do. Looking at the prevention part of it, globally and also at African level, we can see that there are some mechanisms that are put in place to ensure that women play an important part in peace processes. I want to take only one because it happened.
Sylvie, Jacqueline, we are rounding up now. We're almost exhausting our time. At the level of conflict resolution, peace negotiation, peace building, peacekeeping, humanitarian response, and post-conflict reconstruction, women seem to be absent. Why?
Yes, I'm totally in agreement with you. That's why our advocacy, because even though we have mentioned all these initiatives, participation, prevention, and also relief and recovery, when it comes to peace negotiation, honestly, there is still a big gap to close, yes, to fill, because I feel that we are not given the confidence we are supposed to be given here in Cameroon. The peace missions, most of the time, are majority male, and we feel that women need to be in the position. But from my analysis, the way the government operates, they feel that the solution to conflicts lies in the hands of men. So that's what I understand it, because most of the time it's about military. It's military security, the way I understand it from the Cameroon perspective. That's why they don't feel that women have the role to play. Meanwhile, here we are talking about human security in general, and women do have a role to play. So I am in total agreement with you to say that regarding peace negotiation, there is still a gap to fill. That's why myself and 2 other Cameroonian women, we made this training last year on peace negotiation. Women in peacekeeping and peacekeeping mission. We were 3 of us, and what we did last 2 weeks ago, as I was telling you, was to make sure that this component is incorporated into the national action plan. So we are pleading with the government in such a way that it should be a whole component in the national action plan to enable Cameroonian women also be part and parcel of peace processes.
Right, Sylvie Jacqueline Ndokmo, civil society leader, rights advocate, international president of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, dear viewers, for staying with us. Have a nice time in the company of our programs. Coming up next, Equinoxe, live from Yaoundé with Serge Alonto.
Equinoxe.